Welcome to Still Talking Uncut. We're your hosts, Master Distiller Sean Rigsby, and I'm Big Easy. Welcome to the show. We're grateful enough tonight to be joined by Mr. Lawrence Pritchard from Master Distiller Season 1 Mezcal episode.
Yep. Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, sir.
Owner, operator of Flatrock Distillery.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're always grateful when we got a third Ohio guy here. So, you know, it's always near and dear to our heart. If you're from Ohio, we want you on the show.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Yeah, man.
Well, Ohio is one of them places that don't get the credit for what they do. I feel like
we're the forgotten part of Appalachia. That's for sure. I've noticed that. So.
Well, so especially like Southern Ohio. I mean, that's kind of where the Appalachian Mountains, kind of those hills down there. That's where it all started, you know. And there's a lot of people that live down there that came from Virginia and Kentucky and settled in Southern Ohio. So a lot of those people are, lack for better word, we're hillbillies that settled down there. So
yeah,
right.
It's sad that we do get forgotten because when you think, especially about moonshine, because you always think about Tennessee, Kentucky. You never really, Ohio's not really a part of that equation, but we do make really good liquor here, and we do have really good grains here that you can just, you know, go pretty much any little small town to an elevator and grab corn. So it's a really great place to actually make good liquor, and we've been making good liquor for a long time. So it's definitely time that we get a little bit of recognition for that.
Moonshine's best kept secret. That's
what
Ohio is.
I think so.
We're the best kept secret. Like, you know, give us our due. Give us our due. So
that's right. So well, actually, go ahead, Ian. I know you got something to say.
What you drinking on? What you drinking on, Sean? I know it was some apples.
Ah, jeez.
I'm just drinking on some whiskey.
I know this eats Lawrence alive because he's a brew man.
I have my sweet corn moonshine. That's what I'm sipping on tonight.
Oh, sweet corn, huh? Now, like, is
that
just like sweet corn? All right, not like super sweet canned corn or bagged corn.
No. This would be like heirloom white corn.
Oh.
And so that's what I use in my main my main moonshine. No sugar. Mash it in a little bit of malted barley and run it through a pot still.
Oh,
nice. You still from Hillbilly Copper?
Yeah. Oh well, from Thunder Roads. Copper.
Oh shit, Thunder Roads. I've been telling everybody wrong the whole time. Sorry, Kevin.
but you know, it's funny because when I was running that stills on the TV show, like the first still that I got was a column, but I got a chance to run on a pot with a thumper and a worm, and I mean I fell in love with it. I mean, just the way the liquor taste and the whole experience was so cool that I wanted to actually get one of those, and that's why I contacted Kevin Gordon and got a still from him. But yeah, it's a really cool experience to go on and run on one of those kind of pots, and I always wanted to get one in my distillery when I opened up.
Kevin makes beautiful stuff, you know. It's
another, guy. Also Sean. I mean, those keg stills are like, I really think that's going to be the next big thing, as far as those types of stills and pretty much across Ohio and the Midwest. I mean, they're just so easy to use, and everyone can get a keg. So
yeah. I mean, we're in the beer belt, you know.
Like, right.
Everybody up here drinks a lot of beer, and there's distributors everywhere. It's not hard to find an old keg.
No, not at all. So
tell us a little bit about how you got your start. What kind of history if you have any family history, or if your grandfather did it, or
just like I said on Master Distiller. I mean, I come from a family of from Southern Ohio, by Waverly, Nipshin area. That would be west of Chillicothe. That's where my family's from, in the hills down there. A lot of moonshine was made down there. Heard a lot of stories, and then when I started my brewery in 2010. The state of Ohio approved a micro distillery license, but before that, you'd have to be in a community that had over 1 million people to have a distillery.
Oh, wow.
That's only what Columbus and in Cleveland and Cincinnati.
your distillery is in what city?
My distillery is in Napoleon, Ohio.
Okay, Napoleon,
So
Ohio.
yeah, little small town. We have a Campbell's soup factory there. I mean, that's what we're pretty much known for.
So what are you like just north of Columbus in that area, or?
Yeah. So it's like a 2-hour drive. So it's closer to Toledo than it would be to Columbus.
Okay.
Yeah. So up in the northwest part of Ohio where it's mostly flat. So it's a lot different from where I'm from.
You're up in the northwestern part. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right up 75. Right up 75.
I was thinking the totally other side of the state. So,
Yeah, not too far away from Indiana and Michigan. Like I think we're in, maybe 10 or 15-minute drive north is Michigan. So we're way up here.
Well, you're on the right side of the line, that's for sure.
Always.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of Michigan fans up here. Yeah, because it's so close to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, for sure. Especially here lately, they can have it. You can have it for a while.
Yeah, I started my brewery in 2012, and then when they made the micro distillery license legal, I started pursuing, how do I go ahead and switch over to distilling, because it is in my family for a very long time illegally, and I wanted to kind of bring the recipes that I had and the know-how that I had and the family history that I have and actually go legal. And that's what I talked about on the TV show, and that's what I ended up doing in Napoleon.
Nice. So, did you say your grandfather done it?
Yeah, that's I try to. My dad tells me more of the stories. My aunt doesn't want anyone to know, which I understand because this is her dad. And moonshining back then wasn't as I don't want to say glamorous, but there wasn't a TV show, of course. There wasn't anything people wanting to be a moonshiner. It was one of those things that
it wasn't socially acceptable. It was something that if your neighbor knew, they're gonna call a law on you. Whereas now, if your neighbor knows, they're gonna ask you for a jar.
Right, exactly. or how where'd you get your soap from and all the other stuff. But back then, so I do understand her concern because you see a person a certain way, but now, like I said, it is more socially acceptable. I mean, they're even talking about legalizing home distilling in Ohio. So it's like it's just a different day, but I do understand that. But from what I understand, he was a moonshiner and he was a bootlegger in Southern Ohio. So that's kind of where my history started down there.
So is your family from like the Straitsville area, or?
No, they're going to be like Waverly,
Pike County. Oh, okay.
Pike. Yeah, right on the border of Pike and Ross.
Okay.
Right around that area where, if you ever been there before, I mean, there's not much there, but a few trailers died on the sides of the hills, and that's
it's beautiful though.
It really is.
You get down in them foothills, it's peaceful. You might hear a banjo every now and then. That's cool though. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And you can smell the mash and go next holler over and get you a nice jar of liquor, no matter where you are. So
yeah, we went down to Silcox that time. In Waverly, and that was fun. Neither one of us had phone service, and I took both sets of keys for both of our cars.
Yeah, so we go down and we're here, and there's nothing. There's no cell service, and we start heading back, and all of a sudden Sean's phone's like ding 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 ding, and he calls and she's like, "You took both sets. Where where the keys are?" He pulls out both sets of keys out of his pocket, and I'm just like, that does not surprise me at all that you walked out of the house with all the keys.
Well, she took Braden fishing, and she dropped him off with a friend, and then she was supposed to pick him up, and we were like 2 hours away.
Just accept fault. Let's just say Sean had a hefty tag when he ordered dinner that night. So he ordered it from the road. Like, I'm sending dinner home right now. I got you, man. Sold you out, Sean. My bad.
Oh, that's all right.
But yeah, that's where my family's from, and it's a lot different. The terrain and all that stuff is a lot different down there than it is up here. It's pretty flat. It's all corn, which isn't a bad thing for me because I got a lot of farmers up here that grow corn for the distillery. It's not hard to find really good corn up here because everyone's growing it. So
absolutely,
one thing there's no shortage of around here is corn and apples.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell people that they're from like North Carolina or Tennessee in the mountains, and they're like, "Well, I got to drive 4 hours to get corn." I'm like, "You do?" I was like, "I can half an hour drive out of town.
I walk across the street.
There you go.
I can walk across the street. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we got cornfield right out here. Probably ain't no good, but
it's got starch. It'll make liquor.
Yeah.
They have to drive so far just to get corn. It's, I mean, like I said, that's why I really think that Ohio, this is our time to really, get out there and show people what we can do as far as the liquor that we can run here, and not just moonshine, but vodka and whiskey, bourbon, all that stuff. I really think that Ohio bourbon is going to be really hot within the next 5 or 6 years, because there's a lot of distilleries that are really pumping out really great products right now across the state.
We have the perfect climate. It's such a swing here. It's so bipolar, up and down.
I know, it really is.
Like today, Saturday night, snows 6 inches where we're at. We're in southern Ohio, and then temperature drops 40 degrees overnight from the next night, and then it goes back up to 70, and it's crazy here. It's definitely perfect for making good bourbons and good whiskeys in the barrels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But that's kind of my thing. We opened a brewery first, and then we kind of eased into the distillery. I didn't sell a draught for a year and a half after I got the license. I just made it and experimented and really wanted to learn the craft from the ground up. And so that was back in 2013. So it took me a while to get to a point where we were ready to open. And that was, I would say, about 6 or 7 months before I went on the show, we had finally got a chance to open. And then going on Master Distiller, of course, we're all excited to go on the TV show and have everybody watch it. But the thing for our episode, I think it was March the 19th, 2020, my episode was supposed to air. And we had plans to have a bunch of friends at BW3s in this small town next to ours, and everything was great. But then Ohio shut everything down March 17th, 2 days before the premiere. So that kind of like our episodes just kind of got not really, people watched them, but like it wasn't, you couldn't go to watch parties and things like that because we were actually on lockdown during that time. So
you didn't get to celebrate it with your friends the way you wanted to, that's kind of Sean went through the same thing. I remember he's like, "Hey man, my watch party's on this date," and I'm like, "Cool man, getting all ready to go." And he's like, "Oh, we got COVID." And I'm like, keep your ass at home, man. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yep. Yeah, that's all good though. We get to go. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, like I said, it was for our episodes, it was tough because a lot of people didn't even get to see them. Yeah, they were at home, but there was so much stuff going on that a lot of our episodes kind of got missed by people. So they're watching them now because of the other seasons. They're going back and rewatching or watching the first season again. So
there was only 5 episodes on the first season. I think there was 5 or 6 episomes.
I think it was 5, and then they did a judges.
Yeah. I don't count that one. I kind to me the episodes are the new guys that get to come in.
Right.
I like those episodes, but I really enjoy the new guys, the people you don't know. Let's see who this person is,
or the people you do know.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see their personality. Let's see how they hold up. Let's see what kind of Frankenstein rig they make that JJ's going to make on Wednesday.
Yep. So yeah, it's really cool to see the new people. And I always knew that that there are new people coming on because I'd get a bunch of friend requests, and they'd have the Master Distiller logo on their Facebook profiles. So I'm like, okay, this must be the next season filming right now. That's
nice.
So, but yeah, it was going back to the show. It was really cool to do it. I know we get a lot of, I guess the second and third season, we get a lot of, I wouldn't say hate, but a lot of people, make comments about how it's not real and it's this and that. But one of the things I've already said to people when they say that, if you look at their Facebook friends, there's always a McGilla casting director on their list. So that means
they're jealous.
They tried, they tried to get on and you didn't. And when they didn't get on, it's like, what's fake? You guys suck. And
there's no reason to be sour because you don't get on. If they want you, your time will come. You know. and you know, it's fake. It's fake. It's TV. It's entertainment.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like getting on there and competing and doing your thing. There ain't nothing fake about that. Ain't nothing fake about you being under the fire and having to make the best run of liquor you ever made in your life in time constraints like you've never had before.
Right. In a really small amount of time, it really is, and you really have to like be on your game while there's cameras in your face and there's lighting equipment everywhere and there's people telling you like, this is what we're doing next. No.
Like the main show, the real show, it's entertainment. You know, like if they showed you everything that you really did every day, it would bore people to death, and they would quit watching. They'd be like, "Oh man, this is boring." Like I've watched this dude spill the same thing 4 times, or that dude just cusses when he breaks shit all the time. Oh, this is so boring watching that still run for 12 or 14 hours. Like, I'm watching something else, man. So you want to be entertained, and you want it's entertainment. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then, I used to watch Moonshines with I still do, but with my kids. I mean, all the way from the first episode. So I was a fan even before I even got out on the TV show. So it's like I know a lot of people that went on and never even watched the show before. So when they called me, I was blown away, and I was so happy, and
awesome.
that they gave me an opportunity to go on. So that was really cool. So, but up here in Ohio, like sometimes we'll get recognized down, of course, the Hillbilly Jams, and if I walking around Gatlinburg or something, but nobody really cares up here.
No.
It's not that big of a deal for people, especially in Northern Ohio. They're just like they normally don't even drink moonshine, or they had it before and it was too hot, or just those kind of things that never really tried moonshine before. They've never even watched the show.
It's not as, like Ian said, socially acceptable, I guess, per se, as it is in Kentucky, Tennessee,
right?
Southern Ohio.
Right.
But, so what is one of your, when you first started making,
so you write your questions down, Sean, so you know what you want to ask.
I never do.
We could tell.
Go to hell. But anyway. So you were brewing actually before you were making whiskey, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to, how do I say this? So I was doing a little bit of distilling before brewing, and that was always my dream, was to open that distillery. But the microbrewery license came out before the micro distillery license, so that's why I decided to. Go ahead.
When you first started your little distilling, what was your first thing you was running on? Okay.
Actually, I had a real hillbilly from Barlow, Kentucky. I had one of their kettles with the column. So like that's what I was running on like about 12 years ago. That's kind of where I started on a bigger system on one of the hillbilly stills. And those are really nice units, very expensive, but it was one of those things that you really learn how to make cuts and learn about reflux and all this other stuff. And that's kind of the way I learned, and then kind of branched off into pot stills and things like that. I just wanted to learn everything, how to make every liquor from gin to vodka to moonshine and make it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But my first liquor that I made was a sweet corn moonshine that I have right now, right here. So,
and so you came up brewing beer.
Yeah, and a lot of people when they ask me how do they get started with distilling, I always tell them start home brewing first, because you'll be surprised. And I know Sean, you probably seen this before. People want to start distilling and they jump right into trying to buy a still. That's not the way to do it. Learn how to brew beer, because when you brew beer, one, it's legal. You're allowed to home brew, and you learn how to manipulate the amylase that's in barley to convert things, and then you get a beer out of that. But you feel comfortable making a beer mash, you're gonna be able to do a corn mash, and understanding breaking down starches and things like that.
Yeah. Everything with beer, it's got to be sanitized. It's got to be clean.
Absolutely.
And that's, to me, that's one of the biggest difference between brewing beer and making shine. Is you don't have to be so much worried about sanitization as far as like star sands, clean, and
I know there's a few bugs in there. It'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. Like,
but
just
you know,
put your finger in there. It'll be okay.
I've sit into a lot of liquor runs. I'm not naming names, especially down in Tennessee. And some of these guys where I went to go visit, I mean, their shacks were like spotless, and they were using Star Sand and PBW and things like that to clay things. So it really depends on the person. Like, there's a lot of guys and ladies out there that are distilling and making shine, and they're like, their still houses are immaculate. Like, they just, you know. But then again, I know a lot of people that run in the back of their property somewhere, and there's blue totes everywhere, and there's bugs in them, and they're like, "Oh, I don't just scoot those out." And, like, I'm watching this, like, wow, I'm like, they're really gonna run this. And it has been some of the best liquor I've ever had in my life. So I think it really depends on the person, but yeah, home brewing gets you into that mindset of making mash and sanitizing and understanding how amylase work and how malted barley breaks things down. So I always tell people, if you're going to start out distilling, start out making beer. And then you got beer while you're learning how to make a mash.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, start by making wine. Start by making wine, simple wine, simple. You know, like, it's easy for you to do. And then if you can master a wine, just like if you can master a beer, then distilling the next step is so much easier on you as opposed to trying to figure it all out at one time. You know, it could be. Well,
and that's the reason why, if you ever see some of these posts online, that you see people are asking, like, okay, I got my still, how do I make a sugar wash? And so I'm like, wow, man, you really should just learn how to do a mash first, and then, you know, go into actually buying a still, because, you know, you're gonna get a still, and then you're not going to know how to make alcohol and how to make a mash. You're just going to start out with a sugar wash. It's better to learn how to make the mash first, because I can tell you, it just makes a better liquor, you know, when you're using grain.
I muted Sean for a second.
That's all good. You go ahead and keep talking.
They're stacking up shopping carts over there. So. Oh man.
But yeah, that's kind of what, when people ask me how to get started with distilling and what's the first step, I always tell them to make beer, because I do know a lot of people that spent $10,000 on stills and didn't even know how to make a mash. And you know, that's making a mash and knowing how to convert things and knowing how to convert carbohydrates and the sugars, how yeast propagates, those kind of things you got to learn before you even try to buy a still.
And you know that it'll make your liquor better. You know, like knowing how to do all that will make your liquor better. So your first runs aren't like, oh God, that's bad. Oh, I don't know about this.
And I've seen people do that and get discouraged and never run again.
Yep.
So it's really better to, like, learn how to make the mashes and just, like I said, homebrew is legal. Get that out of the way, and then you feel comfortable making a good beer. Then when you get your still and run it, it's going to be you're going to make some good liquor. So
yeah, it's all part of the process, and some people like that. Some people like to study and go in slow and get it all right, and then, you know, some people are just like, man, I'm diving in head first.
Give me that still.
Yeah, watch this train wreck happen. It's gonna be a good time. Let's get it. That's me. I'm a train wreck. I ain't gonna lie.
I've seen people so disappointed when they tasted the liquor just from a regular sugar wash. They're like, man, it wasn't as good as I thought it was gonna be, and I'm like, man, I mean, you really got to learn how to use grain. You just can't throw sugar and yeast together and with a straight face drink it and say it's good. I mean, you got to throw some corn in there, some malted barley. You got to know how to convert. Man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, everybody just thinks, you know, hey, I'm going to add 70 pounds of sugar to this barrel, whether or not it needs it. You know, they don't convert any and then just bump it up if they don't get the conversion they want.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thing. It's started out brewing and was waiting to get the distillery license, got it, and really learned the craft from the ground up for like a year and a half. Didn't sell an ounce, and then we got a chance to open. And then right before my show aired, and then, like I said, COVID shut us down where we couldn't have anyone in the distillery. We were just making hand sanitizer the whole time. So we're just now getting started again from COVID. We're just now getting back on our feet and getting production up and all that other good stuff, trying to get everything, customers back to town and things like that. So that's kind of where we're at. And bigger cities recover a lot faster than smaller towns, farm towns do.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at right now. We got hit hard by COVID, and then the gas prices went up, and then we couldn't find workers. So, small towns all across the Midwest and probably the South too, they're really still struggling from COVID. But so we're just now getting back up and running.
Speaking of the distillery, you do a lot of labels for people, I've noticed.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit from Sean about this, so I'm really intrigued to hear you speak on this. So.
Yeah. So my favorite thing to do is when somebody, it was always a dream for me to have a distillery. After finding out about my grandfather moonshining and bootlegging and things like that, I always wanted to have my own distillery, and we tried to do a lot of things to get it, and it was just more and more disappointment. And then when I got a chance to open it, I always told myself, whoever came to me and they wanted a label, but they didn't have the money or the means to open a distillery, I wanted to help them out. And that's something that I've always been pretty proud and happy to do, is to help people that want to have their own label. We'll help them actually create a label for them. And I get tickled to death when I see people like, hey, this is my bottle, and I made, this is my recipe. And that's something that they've dreamt about for a long time too. It could be their grandfather's recipe, or great grandpa, wherever. They just don't have the ability. What's that?
I've been dreaming for 2 years, but anyway.
No, yeah. Well, your time is coming eventually. That's what I heard. But yeah, that's something that
I'm kind of disappointed
really
that Lawrence missed to take a shot at Sean right there.
I can't do that.
I'm glad Sean took it at himself. You can't even dodge him from himself, my man.
Hey man, I'd rather say it to someone else, because
as a lifelong home distiller, that's what you dream of. We all dream of that. Like, man, seeing my face, my ugly face on a bottle, or my label, my name on it, however it would turn out. Just that's a dream that a lot of us have. Who we don't make liquor to sell. We don't make it to make money off of. It's just for the love and the passion of it, and just to see your face or your label on a bottle, And like you said, most people don't have the means to open a distillery to do that. So sorry I interrupted you. Keep talking about it.
But yeah, that's my most favorite thing about having the distillery, is be able to help people that wanted their own label and they want to work on a recipe and then get it out there. It's one of the rewards about running the distillery like that. And we got approached by a lot of people, and Wade Jennings and Huck Stewart from the show, Van Fields, Ewok. So we have a few others in the works too, but it's a really cool thing to see people that from the TV show, like Ewok and Van and Huck too. I mean, Huck and Mark Rogers, I've been watching them, like I said, before I even went on the show, and being able to work with them is like, it's a blessing for sure.
So say I was like, hey, Lawrence, man, I want to make my own label. I want to sell banana brandy. That's my thing. I like it. I think it should be on a shelf. What would be the process that I would have to do to make this happen?
Well, you just contact me, and we would sit down and talk about what the recipe is and how big of a launch that you want to do. And then there's a few other things that kind of happen between me and the party that actually wants to make it. Mm-hmm. We figure out how much it's going to cost, because believe it or not, I mean, it does cost a lot of money to launch a label. I mean, we've done a few of them, and it's the whole process, the lawyer, the legal team to make sure that everything's correct with the TTB and with the state of Ohio. And then we even have to deal with North Carolina too. Also having a broker to sell things in different states. I mean, there's a lot of money that actually goes into it. And my thing is, like, I like to start small for someone. And if yours takes off, we just keep building it and building it and building it. And that's just the way I approach business. I mean, I really don't try to do a really huge launch, because you don't know how well it's going to be received. And we're a small distillery. We're not a big multi-million-dollar distillery. So a failure could really, ruin a business completely.
Oh yeah, a small hit to a small guy is a big hit.
Right.
It's not like
Right.
the big guy. He could just wipe off $10,000-$20,000 hit here or there. Like, well, that'll break a small guy. And it'll break it hard too. So
yeah, and they can just kind of move on. But for us, we got to be really careful. Do a little bit of market research, and then start a small distribution, a small run to see how it goes. And then my thing is like, I don't like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So a lot of people that we do labels for, I tell them right out off the bat, I'm like, hey, this might take a while, a year or 2 or 3 years, but we're going to let this grow organically so that it's not a flash in the pan. It's something that's going to be around for a long time. And if it grows slowly and it gets better, we put more and more of the funds that we get back from the revenue of sales back into the product itself. And it just kind of keeps growing from there. And I want to have every one of our labels to be extremely successful and then be nationwide. But I know that for a smaller distillery, that's just going to take a little bit longer than some of the larger people that can pump more money into, marketing and advertising and things like that. So we're more like a grassroots when it comes to signing people to labels.
Now, do you guys are you able to ship alcohol? Like, are you able to mail alcohol?
It depends on the state. There's a few states that we're allowed to actually ship to.
Okay.
But if you get a distributor, you can actually start shipping, I believe, to most of the states. And there's a distributor reciprocity where you can ship from this distributor in Arkansas over to this distributor in Kentucky or whatever. We just, like I said, being small, it's hard for us to acquire, a good distributor. But we've been working on it. But yeah, we can ship to a few states. But my main goal right now is just to get into ABC stores and as many states as we possibly can, so that we don't have to worry about shipping charges and stuff like that. You can go straight to ABC store and then grab the product there.
Gotcha.
Okay. So now, can you ship it within Ohio?
No. Yeah, it's actually illegal to ship alcohol in Ohio. So not yet. So my fingers are crossed that they'll do that, because that would really help out with sales, especially with distilleries that are in a smaller town. Mm-hmm. Because not to speak about the other distillers that there were smaller towns. It's just my town where we are. We don't get a lot of walking traffic. The whole town shuts down at 5 o'clock pretty much. So we miss out on a lot of retail sales that I think distilleries in bigger towns enjoy, like Columbus or Cleveland, where there's like more of a nightlife, around the distillery. So being able to ship would be a huge deal for us. But at this time, it's illegal to ship alcohol from a distillery to customers. Gotcha. So hopefully that's going to change soon.
Hopefully, that you saw they have that SB 13 in the House. They're voting on allow home distilling, allow you to give it to your friends, allow you to mail it to your buddies. Like 100 gallons per 21. Per person of 21 in your household. Let's get it, man. Let's get it.
Right. And I don't think it's a bad thing, because like 20 years ago there wasn't, a lot of the internet. You couldn't go on the internet and look up stuff. You'd have to go up to the library or something like that. So yeah, that could be very dangerous to let people start home distilling, because you can really hurt someone if you don't know what you're doing. Not to say that someone that can just go on the website and figure out how to distill isn't going to hurt someone. I think they're going to be people getting sick and things like that because they don't know what they're doing with the distills. But for the most part, there's enough information out there that you can kind of know what to throw away and what to smell for, and safety with vapors and stuff like that.
Like I was talking the other night, like we're living in the moonshine renaissance. It's a moonshine renaissance right now, with just the explosion of the craft and the the social acceptability of it. And just all the different things. Like 12 years ago, you talk about that little pot you started on, like you didn't have access to 10 different people you could call and get whatever you wanted built. If you can imagine it now, you could have it built by 5 to 10 different guys.
Oh yeah,
like
in Ohio. Within Ohio.
It's insanity, like. And if you want to know how to make something you're not sure, well, it's easy for you to find the person. That's what they do, like, oh man, I know this guy makes this. It's what he does. It's what I want to make. I'm going to get it straight from the source. It's so easily now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the, not to go off the subject, but that's one of the reasons why, and I know a lot of people give us shit when we call ourselves moonshiners, like, oh, I don't like to call myself moonshiner, and I kind of like the fact that if you make moonshine or you're a distiller and you're part of that, I don't want to say counterculture. I like the fact that you call yourself a moonshiner because of that fact. Because when I get a friend request or I meet someone that's moonshine or whatever, I know I'm going to have a conversation about where he gets his corn from. I know we're going to chit chat about things that I enjoy and I'm interested in. So it's kind of like one of those things. It's a badge that when I see it, I know we have the same kind of background. We have the same kind of hobbies and what we like to drink and things like that.
Yeah, you share a common passion. You share a common passion.
Yeah.
You know it. You know it without even hearing them speak. Like,
exactly.
Man, I got a common passion with that person. We're probably going to get along.
and that's why I like the fact that people call themselves moonshine or whatever, because then I know if I see them online or see them at the Hillbilly Jam, I know what conversation that we're going to have, and I know that they're there to learn and let me try some stuff. I'm going to try some good shine, hopefully, and I know this person is somebody that I can hang out with because they're part of my culture.
And then before you know it, they're your friend, and then all of a sudden you call them like a family member. You look at them like a family member. It's like
absolutely, man. I mean, that's one of the things. Like when I went to the first Hillbilly Jam, I was invited to so many houses around Tennessee and North Carolina that people were, hey, let me show you my still, and I'm running some stuff back here. Can you come out? Can you come out? And my wife's like, man, we're just gonna stay back in the cabin if we're gonna be running up and down the mountains like that. But I mean, people really are out there making some really good shine. I mean, they really are making, running it and running stills, and it's like, yeah, the show is the show, but there's people out there that really know what they're doing and make a good product, even though it is illegal. So. Yep. But yeah, that's like I said. I know people kind of get upset when you say, "Well, I don't call myself a moonshiner." Why do you call yourself a moonshiner? I like it because, like I said, I know who I'm dealing with.
Yeah, that makes sense. But so speaking of, you own a distillery and all that, and as people get on Master Distiller, whether they win or learn, well, it's all learning, but they want to open a distillery. So
right.
People talk a little bit about that, like what it takes to open the distillery.
What kind of shit do you got to wade through here in Ohio to open a distillery?
Honestly, from talking to a lot of people that want to start a distillery, if they're on moonshiners or master distiller, or people that I just know, they normally hit me up on Facebook or send me an email or something with a lot of questions because we've done it. So, I've moved 3 or 4 times. We've been in business for over a decade. So I can tell you that Ohio really isn't that bad of a state to open a distillery in. It's just the biggest thing is jumping through all the hoops as far as coding goes. You can't use the open flame in some buildings. So there's a lot of it that goes into actually setting up your distillery depending on where it is. But as far as the laws and things like that, the state of Ohio is actually pretty good with making sure that you have everything that you need to apply, especially if you're going to do a micro distillery, because they have an A3A license right now where, I mean, it's barely anything to open as far as the license itself. And then the TTB license is actually free. So once you have your building and everything all set up, the licenses are not that expensive, and the application process is pretty straightforward and easy. So.
Now, do you have to have your building all set up before you apply for this stuff?
Yeah, you're supposed to have your building ready to go because on the Fed license through the TTB, they actually ask you for dimensions and floor plans and the address and all that other stuff. So yeah, you have to have a building set up. And when we first started, it was like we waited for a little over a year, but I think the wait time now, if you have everything done properly, is about 3 to 4 months.
That's not bad.
No,
that's the daunting task for most people is putting all that money into getting everything set up, and then what if something happens? What if something happens and it doesn't happen? So I could see how that could be the nail biting process of it. Like I got everything ready to go, but what if? Because you just never know.
Well, I mean, if you don't have any money coming in, and you're just sitting on that lease, that's going to cost you.
Yeah.
Well, just say for shits and giggles, it costs you $5,000 a month. Hopefully you don't get into anything like that, but that's a lot of money if you don't lot for it up front for the first 12 months of not making any money.
Absolutely. Your build out too, if you're going to do any remodeling, all the permits that you have to get to, the inspections. I mean,
Yeah.
just anything can really trip that process up where you can't open. And then we're talking 6 months to almost a year that you're waiting. But like you said, you're eating the cost of the rent and electricity and gas and everything else while you're sitting there waiting to get approved.
And then you could always run into some BS like old Daryl did. Yeah, like he was about there, and then just some bull crap got dumped on him, and it set you back. And so if you're gonna do it, man, you better tighten your britches up.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. It really isn't. Like if you think you're just gonna sell $1 million worth of liquor, I mean, you might if you're in a really good tourist area, but I mean, it's going to be a grind, and you're going to have to work for every single penny that you get, and you have to be careful about the decisions that you make. And then before you know it, you're growing and you're selling a lot of liquor. Then you got to look at expansion. And does that mean you get a loan, or do you partner with someone? And what is that going to look like? And there's a lot of people out there that are just waiting with money, that are waiting to take your dream and make it their own. But sometimes when that happens, their dream kind of preempts yours. And then you find that you got into this whole thing to start a distillery and kind of honor your family and keep the heritage going. But then you have someone that wants their vision for you. It's just not the same anymore. So that's what I would say. Like, if you're going to start a distillery, the easy part really is to open. It's just once you start selling and once you want to expand, and you're trying to raise capital to do that because you have more demand than you have product, and you have to expand. Just be very careful who you go into business with. Get everything in writing, and just not everybody is your friend, even though they're friendly. That's my biggest advice. Try to do as much as you can on your own.
When it comes to money, usually there aren't any friends.
Unfortunately,
and that's just the way it goes. Like,
when somebody puts some money in it, they automatically, want to be the boss.
Yeah,
right. And it may not even start out that way. They could, hey, we're going to be partners and everything's going to be great. It's always after everything is going is when the true intentions kind of come out. And so you got to be careful with that, because if you start a small distillery, it's not because you want to get rich. It's because it's in your heart, it's in your soul. You want to go legal. You want to make a good product. You're proud of what you're doing. And it's tough because you want to grow and you want to raise capital. But like I said, you can't trust everyone. So when you're talking about mergers and partnerships and things like that, you have to be very, very careful. Because everybody wants to get in on something now on the ground floor, but when it's established and you're actually doing well.
Yeah. I feel like a small micro distillery would be great for somebody that's retired, that don't need to make a whole lot of money, just something to, not necessarily break even, but make a few dollars, but that they love to do.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, honestly, between brewing and distilling is a lot easier. I mean, that's something that I'm looking forward to just doing distilling and not brewing at all, because brewing is definitely a young man's or a young woman's thing, because it's a lot more heavier grains and you're just cleaning all the time. I feel like there's a lot more work.
There's a ton more work
in brewing beer.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the day where I'm just like, all right, I don't have to brew anymore. All I got to do is sit back and in a rocking chair and just watch my stills run and
watch them run, man.
That's it. Yeah.
There ain't,
part of the job.
there ain't nothing like distilling as opposed to making beer or making wine. Like, give me a distill. Like, oh, it got infected. Good.
Right. I know. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is with distilling, you can kind of drink a little bit, but brewing you can't, because I've been drunk a few times or drank too much while I was brewing and forgot to close a valve or forgot to do this. There's so many different steps of brewing that can ruin an entire batch of beer.
Yeah.
But with distilling, I've been around people running liquor and they've just been, just completely intoxicated, and it wasn't a problem. Like,
Till you forget to pop the cap one time.
Yeah, I know. I've done that before. I got some love dents on my pot because I was drinking too much and forgot to vent it after I was done.
Hey, I don't care who you are, man. First time you run a still ever and it first starts coming out the end of that worm, you are trying way too much that time, because you just don't know. Like, oh, I gotta see it, and then it ain't real good, but it doesn't matter. You're amazed. you're happy, and then before you know it, you're just fucking plastered. And like, how'd your first run go? Like, oh, I don't remember half of it.
No. And I was drinking a lot of the stuff I was running too, because we weren't really selling it. So I had like, hearts everywhere pretty much, and just drinking and trying different things and trying the tails and things like that. But that, like I said, I mean, that's kind of it for me. I can't drink that much when I'm brewing because I had to watch so much. But distilling, I mean, I can pretty much drink anything I want to the whole time I'm running.
After that happened, I got to ask, did you happen to put a Landry valve on that?
There was a valve on there already. I just didn't open it. Yeah. And that was my fault.
Richard.
I was I shut everything down, and I'm like, I gotta go home. I drank too much, and I came in the next day, and it was bent over like this, like and I'm like, oh man. So yeah,
what I do.
I know. I was pretty pissed off, but yeah, everybody kind of makes those mistakes too, and
it happens.
Kind of and that's the coolest thing about distilling. I mean, you make mistakes and learn, and then you kind of just move on. So.
Oh yeah, well, and it's always something, whether you find a new spot on a still where you wind up having a leak, you always learn something every time you run it. I feel like.
Right. Absolutely.
It's always different. Always.
Yeah, I mean. The biggest thing for me is like I would just switch to another corn supplier, and it's Schoolhouse Farms 1862 down in Rockford, Ohio. And I know there's a few other distillers that actually hit them up for grain, which I'm really happy about to keep him busy. Vaughn Davis over there at Schoolhouse busy, but you can even tell the difference between corn from here and corn from there, just grown in different. In different parts of Ohio, that at least I can tell in my corn moonshine. And that's the coolest thing about it. It's like, changing ingredients, changing the way you're doing mash, that you can actually get to the point where you can taste the difference and, changes in the mashes.
And there's a lot of things that definitely will change that too. The yeast will,
mm-hmm.
The malt, all kinds of stuff, whether you run it through a thumper, redistill.
What's in the thumper? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So are you an advocate for redistilling things, or do you run it once and done through a thumper, or what's your?
No, I like stripping. I do a lot of stripping runs.
Do you strip single, or do you run it through a thumper when you strip, or is it just single arm?
Single. I strip single, and then I'll add my strip run to the mash just to increase the ABV. And then I'll do a spirits run with that. That way you get a little more flavor, but you're not waiting. You're not doing a run for 5% ABV for like 4 or 5 hours. You're stripping out, and then you're getting a final ABV of, I don't know, like 40, 50%, and I'm running that. So that seems like it works better for me. And I do a few things in the thumper I can't really talk about, but
can't give away all your secrets, man.
I know, But
next question. Next question.
Yeah, but if you watch the show, and what I did in the thumper is pretty close to what I do from all of my liquors, pretty much. As far as like getting the flavors and things like that in the thumper, that's pretty much the technique that I use that I use on the show.
That's awesome. Okay. So what's your favorite thing to make?
I mean, corn moonshine. I mean, it's so versatile. You can make it into a bourbon.
You like that white corn? Are you more white corn, yellow corn?
Yeah, I got a Silver King from Vaughn, and that I really like that a lot. It has a nice sweet flavor to it. It converts well. And then I'll put yellow sweet corn in my thumper. So I'll do that too, just add a little more corn flavor and a few other things in the thumper too that I don't want to say, but that's kind of that's what gives our moonshine like its signature corn flavor.
Okay. Well, I look forward to trying it. So
absolutely,
we're all going to band together. We're all going to band together. We got there's like 6 people down here. They're all in our comment section. They all live within like 20 or 30 minutes of me and Sean. We're going to band together, come up there, and then we're going to venture over to Michigan with our Ohio State stuff on. Flip people
I want to say Ann Arbor's like maybe an hour drive from here.
I ain't driving that
far away.
I ain't going that far in. I go over the state line and get my licks in, and then I'm back home where I belong. So you know how it is. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Yeah, we actually have our corn in a few places down there. I want to say Athens, Kroger's, and Logan, Kroger's, and a few other had our sweet corn for a while. Yeah, there's a few stores down there that carry it still in Southern Ohio.
Now, do you have anything in the Dayton area yet?
No, not yet. I think the closest to Dayton we have is our Wade Jennings Bloody Butcher bourbon got picked up in Fairfield. I don't know how far away that is. Jungle Jim's Fairfield.
Yeah, Fairfield's about 30 minutes south of us. It's just north of Cincinnati.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Jenny's been wanting to go down there, so we're going to have to go down there, and I'm going to have to pick a bottle of that up. Is that Bloody Butcher?
Yeah, that is Bloody Butcher. Now, that's not from Schoolhouse 1862 because it was in the barrel for 3 years. I actually got it from another farm here, actually in Indiana. But it's been in the barrel for 3 years, and I just really started working with Vaughn, I would say, about a year ago. But I'm looking forward to using his Bloody Butcher and other bourbons and whiskeys and things like that. I actually use it in a beer that we make called Eye for an Eye at Father John's microbrewery where I brew at, and it gives it a nice red color. And then I don't know if anyone's really used Bloody Butcher in a beer before, but it really gives it a good, like I don't want to say corn flavor, but there's like almost like a spice or like a blackberry, like a raspberry kind of flavor that does really well in a pale ale. So if you home brew, definitely try some Bloody Butcher in your mash. It works really well.
Have you got to work with that Jimmy Red yet?
No, I haven't got a chance. I had a guy from South Carolina said he grew some and he wanted me to come down and get it. I'm like, dude, I cannot see myself going all the way down to South Carolina to get corn. I'm sorry. When there's corn up here. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I got this Jimmy Red, man. You got to come down there. So I told myself I'm going to take some time this summer and get on the road and get down there to visit everybody that's inviting me down to see their farms and what they're growing and try some of their corn.
That's cool. I get you Jimmy Red a lot closer.
Oh, really? Here in Ohio?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Huh. So maybe we come up and see you. If I got an extra bag, I'll bring it to you. Let you work some magic with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe we can make a mash, I'm normally mashing in and distilling by myself because I'm a one-man show up there, but it's been nice to have some company. So.
I don't know if you would call me and Sean good company.
Be knocking shit over and breaking.
I'm good company.
If you hate Michigan, you are.
All right, I'm good company. I don't know about Sean though. He's kind of iffy sometimes. So
I just kind of sit down and let someone else do the work. That's all I like to do.
That's
what I'm waiting for.
I know how it goes. So. I know how that goes.
My oldest son is 16. And I told him, like, man, as soon as you're 18, 19, you're going to be coming in here and helping me as much as as you can, because I really, he kind of stands around and watches me work too. So I'm going to get him started and learn how to distill and all that stuff. And he's not really taking it serious right now, but think about all the people that we know that say, I've been distilling since I was 16 or 15. Yeah. I told him, like, dude, if you start now and you start learning stuff, you'll be able to say that and actually be true versus a lot of people that we know that, brag on how they started distilling when they were 5 or 6 years old. But
yeah, see, my kids are teenagers. It's always just, you're weird. What are you looking at? Why are you looking at me?
Absolutely. Yep,
you're weird. You're weird. Stop looking at me. Get out of my room. Can I have some money? So.
But yeah, I told him, like, man, if you just start it now, learn everything, from the ground up, not that he's going to be drinking any alcohol, but learning the craft, that he'll be able to say that, I've been, helping my dad since I was 15 or 16 years old. And that's the thing that he doesn't think about now, but later on in life, I mean, that's going to be memories and that he's going to be able to brag on later.
Yeah, he'll be glad he did. They don't, just like when you was a teenager, you didn't think about stuff, and then you look back like, man, I remember doing that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is like talking to my grandpa, because I wish I could have talked about a lot of the stuff that he did. But like I said, I mean, I'm just like my son. It's like, whatever, I'm not. I hung out with him a lot and taught me how to ride a horse, and we spent a lot of time in the hills down there. But I never got a chance to talk to him about what he did when he was younger. You know, and so I wish I had that kind of time to kind of learn more about what he did and our family history down there. So I would tell my boys, like, take advantage of this time while I'm here or your grandpa's here. That way, you can remember these things and pass it on to your kids too. So
I ain't going to be here forever, so you better enjoy me while I'm here. So enjoy my weirdness.
Yeah. Well, they always say it's not what you leave to them; it's what you leave in them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, it's I try to like pass down the traditions and what I learned over to my kids, and I'm looking forward to them getting older enough that make the decision that they're going to come into brewing or distilling. I'm kind of going to leave that up to them.
Yeah, you don't want to push them. Like, I grew up playing sports, football ever since I was a little kid. And I ain't pushed my kids into that, and I haven't shown interest yet, so I don't push it and let them do their thing. Let them do their thing. So
yeah, and I see parents all the time that they push the kids for sports, and you can just tell that the kids are just miserable. I'm like, just let them be kids. They'll find their way if they want to do something else, And I'm kind of like that with my kids, all four.
Yeah, I was an adult as a young child. I was an adult, like you raise yourself, take care of yourself. You want some money, go earn it.
Yeah.
And you feel like as you're older, you look back like, man, I really missed out on being a child. And so like it's important to, if you have the opportunity and that's the way you grew up, you're like, look, man, I want my kids to be kids as long as they can. No worries, no adult stresses when you're 12 years old or anything like that. Be a child and do what you want to do.
And then when they're 16, 17, that's when you really push hard about work ethic and working a job and being honest and dependable and all the rest of that stuff, especially when they're first starting to drive and really get out there in the world.
But they see you work that way your whole life, work ethic, provide for them, be a good person, and so it's ingrained in them without just because of who you are, what kind of person you are, and the example you set for them growing up as a father. So
yeah, absolutely.
So where do you see yourself, your distillery, in say 10 years? What kind of goals do you have in mind for that?
Well, right now, point, just like I was saying about a lot of distillers are where it's either you're going to grow or you're going to get do a merger, or you're going to do a buyout. So we're kind of looking at a lot of different things right now. I'm small, but we have a lot of opportunities with labels like with Huck and Van and Way that they can go nationwide easily if we had the right management team and the right capital behind it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I mean, it's like it's all fun and games, and when you're making liquor, but running a distillery, there's a lot of business behind that you don't really even think about. And there's a lot of tough decisions that you have to make to take it to the next level or to pay the next bill. That was the biggest thing for me to kind of learn that there's a grind as far as production, but like if you are small, you get to wear a lot of different hats. Absolutely, you're going to be making some tough business decisions too, with a lawyer, with an accountant. So for us, I mean, I see myself probably handing over Flatrock to someone, a new management team that's going to take it to the next level. That's something that I can't really do as a one-person show. I think it has a lot of potential. I think it can do some great things across Ohio. I mean, like I said, we got Ways and a lot of different liquor stores right now, and he's selling. But I think moving forward, I would definitely like to see someone else come in and help, kind of expand the business and take it to the next level. And like I said, I just want to sit back in the rocking chair and watch the still run. I don't want to go into meetings, and I don't want to have to talk to anyone about, well, we need to do a quarterly financial meeting. I don't want to do any of that shit. I just want to sit back and just like I see these guys do at these distilleries, there's always one guy with a beard and he's got kind of sitting there and he's got a little bit of moonshine and he's just watching everybody walk back and forth. That's what I want to be. I want to be that guy. Because
I don't ever want to clean anything ever again.
Yeah.
Ever again do I ever want to clean anything.
Yeah, cleaning and, like I said, financial meetings and budgets and all this other stuff that you never really think about when you're just running liquor.
Yeah.
But it is a part of the business. It really is.
That's the goal. Just run liquor. Just run liquor.
Right.
Well, that's the fun part of it, like the business.
Right.
The business and the startup, I feel like, would be real uneasy and stressful.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do it.
Yeah.
It's time to do it.
Yeah, and then when you do it, you find that you have success because it's a brand new business, so everybody wants to know about it. But then after a few months, depending on where you are, the kind of newness kind of comes down, and then you kind of plateau. and then it's like you're just rolling, trying to go to the next release and the next liquor, the next tasting, and it's just a never-ending cycle that you're just trying to sell all the time.
Trying to get new people in the door, and
right,
like you said, man, that's hard when you're small in a small town, and that could be difficult. Like it kind of reminds me why I always talk about when I go out to West Virginia to those distilleries. It's like there's a distillery up on a foothill, and that's all there is. It's like you have to drive there, and it's like, how do you guys make it? And he's like, how you know the name? And I've been here a long time.
Hatfield.
Yep. Everybody from around comes for my liquor because I'm the only place around. And,
right.
Yep. And he was illegal for a long time before he went legal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure. He had a nice clientele already. So.
Right. And things like that, I feel like make a big difference too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's having the history behind it and being known already. That does really make a difference when it comes because I mean we see a lot of the bigger distilleries that have millions of dollars spent in advertising. It's not really about the quality of their liquor; it's about the quality of their advertising and marketing. That's really what's selling the liquor, how slick it is, and the jar or the commercial or their Facebook presence. Those are all things that are well thought out to get you to buy their product, and their product may not be even.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Some of the worst stuff that you'll ever taste is some of the biggest names out there. And at least some of the worst stuff I've ever tasted has been some of the bigger names.
Absolutely.
We're not gonna hate and drop names, but we all know, like it's just like, oh, dude, how do people like that? I just don't get it, But
and you see people online, they're like, oh, it's so good, and I'm like, it's all about that perception and marketing, and these guys are good at getting you to buy things that it may not necessarily be good at all, but the marketing behind that.
Yeah. And for most of them, they don't know what really good alcohol is because, like, when you make it yourself, you strive for that perfection, so the difference between and oh yeah,
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's another thing too. Like anybody that's used to drinking, say, is it Uncle Jesse's sour mash or
Uncle Jesse's simple sour mash?
Yeah, you go from that to full conversion corn.
Right.
That's a complete different ball game, and anybody that's never had complete, they're like,
know what it's supposed to taste like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I mean, there's a big part about it too. Like when you go into the tastings, and there's a lot of different flavored liquors because I mean, there is a big market for flavored moonshines, and there's a few big distillers that actually do it well because they're dumping a lot of sugar into these products, and so it is sweet. So you get a lot of that on the market too, and so that people really don't even know what moonshine is supposed to taste like. And I know people are going to say, well, what is moonshine supposed to taste like? Well, all the base is going to be corn moonshine. If it's strawberry or blackberry or whatever, the base is always going to be that moonshine that they're supposedly running at the distillery. But yeah, it's all about marketing and advertising. I mean, that's really what sells a lot of these brands.
That's what sells everything, If it's shiny, it's got to be shiny. You catch an eye. If it's shiny, then you're gonna want it. We're all just cats swiping it at chandeliers. It's shiny. It's shiny. So
and bourbon is kind of one of those prime examples how mass hysteria about one product can really just run wild, and it doesn't have to be advertising. Like you can just have 5 or 6 people saying, "Oh my God, this really rare bourbon's coming that no one else can get." May not be a very good bourbon, but the fact that it's well sought after, people stand in line and try to win lotteries to get these bottles.
I've tasted $200 bourbon that tasted like I've had better $20 bourbon. So, it's just it's all about the name, man. We buy you kids Jordans because of the name, and you spend a ton of extra money, and they're the same shoes you can get at the local store for next to nothing. So it's it's all about who markets it and who's got the deeper pockets to push it.
Absolutely. Yep. And you want to, and like I said with bourbon, it's about look what I got. You know, you always see people with those bottles of Weller or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look what I found at.
I paid $500 for this bottle.
And waited 4 hours, and I know.
Yeah, and it's like, well, hey man, that's what you enjoy. Congratulations to you. You know, I'm glad to see you happy. That's not my deal. I'm not dropping $500 on a bottle of nothing.
And a lot of them don't even open it. They'll just sit up on their shelf and they'll let people look at it, you know, as opposed to drink it.
Hold this.
You know, that's a problem of mine. If I've got a bottle of liquor, it's meant to be drank.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody that comes over, they point at something. I'm like, man, get you a drink of that. Go ahead and try that.
Like, are you sure?
Yeah, try you some of that, man. Like, oh yeah, that there. Try you some of that too. You know what? Go ahead, try this, try that, try this, try that. You're gonna need it. You better call the old lady to come pick you up, man. She's gonna be mad when she gets here.
Hell yeah. So, before we get off here, I've got one more question.
Okay.
What's the smallest still you've ever ran, and what's the biggest one you've ever ran or been around?
The smallest still I ever ran was a 5-gallon still. That was the smallest one I ran with somebody else. That was pretty much my first run.
I say first one.
And the biggest one.
You don't have to say who or nothing.
I actually got to run on submarine pot still, and I think it was 240 gallons or 250 gallons.
That's a big boy.
No shit.
And if you've ever been around one of these submarine pots, I mean, they're huge, but you just don't understand how, like, physically it can hold the mash. You know what I mean? Like, it's wood and it's a pretty thin sheet of copper. I'm like, I don't even want to stand by it because you see them on the show, but you don't realize that when you're there, the wood's making noises, expanding, and there's popping and dinging, and I'm like, I don't understand how this thing is actually keeping pressure, and you know, they're pretty ingenious.
Not to make your butthole pucker like that, still popping. When you're standing right by it, you're like, "Oh God, am I dead? Am I dead? Is this an episode of Ghost?"
Yeah, they were using propane underneath it, and I'm like, man, I don't understand how they even came up with the concept to make the pot that, you know, submarine still so big, and using wood too, and you know,
it's like it ain't leaking and it's making good liquor. It's amazing, you know. Some things you just have to marvel at the ingenuity. Somebody from a long time ago in the backwoods was like, you know what? Let's make it like this. And
because we don't have a lot of copper. Yep.
Yeah. We got sheets of stainless and we got pine. Let's make this big old submarine pot and let's get it, you know. So
yep, absolutely. That's
awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think we're coming on the end here. We've been here over an hour. You know, we talked about Kevin Gordon earlier. He's going to be a guest on the show later on. We're booked out till March already. Oh, wow. And March is filling up too. So if you want to be on, you better call Sean and have him put you in the books. So we definitely didn't expect that, and you know, we're grateful. We're grateful anybody that wants to come on here.
Really cool.
Wednesday we're going to be at Frickers in Springfield. Me and Sean and a couple other shiners for Matt Brown's watch party for his episode on the 25th. It's going to be cool watching him and JJ go at it. I hope JJ beats him.
Yeah, that's all right. We're all going to give him a little shit, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time. So, like I said, we're grateful and honored to have you on here, Lawrence. Best of luck to you in the distillery. You know, anything that we might can help with, just let us know. We're always down to help, and you know, I'm sure we'll be picking your brain about a few things here and there, and get all these guys together. We're gonna come up and see you. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, if anyone has any questions about starting a distillery or opening a brewery or anything like that, just hit me up. A lot of people do. I don't have a problem, you know, answering questions. I've been through it all with legal stuff and, you know, the licenses and all that stuff. So I'm here to help anybody that needs help. And if you ever want to meet up in person, I'm always at Father John's Microbrewery. We got an Airbnb there, really great restaurant. So if you want to come up and stay and kind of go through opening the distillery and all this stuff, our door is always open.
I just want to come up and drink liquor. So,
well, come on up.
Let's get it. Yep. Yeah, we say we're honored. We're thankful to have you on.
Yes, sir.
And everybody for listening. we'll be back next Monday. I don't know who the guest is. Sean tells me like 2 days before when I see an ad. And then I'm like, who's that person? Who's this? And I kind of like it like that. I don't mind it. It's a surprise for me too. So,
right.
Sean,
Cool,
thanks
man.
for joining us. I hope you had a great weekend. Lawrence, hope you had a great weekend. Hope everybody has a great week.
Sure.
And have a great night. Everybody shine
All right,
on.
Shine on.
Shine on, man.